Hey everybody, welcome back to the Varied Life. Steve here, the retired hobby tech guy, and today we're going to be talking about the Creality Ender 5 Max. It is now for sale. It is on sale. It has hit the interwebs, and I got a question. Where are the videos? Yes, where are the videos for this thing? And we're going to dive a little bit into the specs of the Ender 5 Max, and we're going to ask the question, is it the right price for that printer? I don't know. Is it going to fit into the needs of the populace and those nerds like us that want to print big things, or is it going to be overshadowed by things like the Creality K2 Plus? I don't know. It remains to be seen. There's some interesting things we're going to take a look at here. So, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at what we end up having here. Let me clean up some stuff here. Yeah, let's clean up some stuff and show you what we've got going on. A little bit of house cleaning here to try to make things nice for you. It's all about you and doing. So anyway, yeah, this was interesting because I had actually found this, and somebody clued me into this, and I did some searching and actually found it on their website, and of course it wasn't on their normal website type stuff, so that was kind of interesting. But I found the web page and it wasn't for sale. You could go over the specs and everything, and what we have here is a sneak peek of the Ender 5 way back 2 months ago. So this is from Creality behind the scenes. Talks about, shows the machine itself, and it is a 400 by 400 cubed, massive printer. And we're going to skip over that guy there. That is a massive machine, and of course it's a Core XY, so it's going to be a little bit bigger or a little bit faster than compared to normal bed slingers, which is really nice. People know that I have been looking for a type of machine for bigger prints, for the bigger build area, and that's exactly what we end up seeing here. But with that being said, it's Core XY, so it's faster. And some people have recommended bed slingers, and that's not even on the table for me. Now, for other people, if they want it, and that's, you're okay with that, thumbs up to you. With this, it looks like it's not going to be shipped in completed condition. In other words, you're going to have to do some assembly on this. We'll see how it goes. There's an unboxing video that Creality put out, which is interesting. And so it's not going to be that, pull it out of the box, plug it in, 5-10 minutes later, you're going to be printing stuff. It looks like there's going to be a little bit more involvement, which is absolutely okay. And so when you try to compare the Creality K2 Plus, which basically is pull it out of the box, remove some stickers and supports and whatever else that you got to do, you could be up and printing in no time. But for real, in reality, is it really going to be a deal killer for, something like this? I don't think so. I think this will actually end up being a good printer, but will everybody else? And I think this is coming to a place of where you have the Creality Ender 2 or other enclosed printers that will print all kinds of materials, and then you release this, and it's kind of like a letdown a little bit, because it's like, if I was Creality, I would release the Ender 5 Max, and then I would have released the K2 Plus. But that's just me personally, or yeah, it is what it is. I'm not in charge of anything. I'm retired, so hey, what do I know? But the good thing about this is that, well, it's large. It's supposed to print fast. The max speed of printing is 700 millimeters a second. We're looking at some impressive speeds. We see some real good stuff with this printer, at least from what we've seen from the Creality videos. Since this machine has actually popped out on sale today, and we'll take a look at this, it's got some high-speed motors and all this kind of stuff. But when we actually look at the web page, what we're going to end up finding out is the price is $769. So $770 for a 400 by 400, and XY 36-point auto bed leveling, which is really nice. And I'm going to see if we can make this a little bit bigger for y'all and for me. So we can go there. So yeah, 36-point auto bed leveling. And so, that's always an important thing to have. And with that, other large scale printers have auto bed leveling, but with not as many points. So what we're looking at is you can get a better representation of the bed, which is really nice, and make those adjustments for printing and all kinds of stuff. Tailored for print farm, multi-printer management via YLAN, tricolor indicator light. So in other words, right on there is the, if you look there, you have the green light, and you'll have a green, amber, and red light as a visual indicator of the status of that printer, which is really nice, because if you have a print farm, which you would end up having is basically a row of printers on multiple shelves, and you're like, okay, boom, you can easily pick out if there's something wrong, or if a printer is ready to print, or there's some type of error. So that's kind of cool. Optional enclosure, higher ambient temperature for engineered filaments. That hasn't been released yet, which I think, like I said, if it was me, if I was king for a day at Creality, I would have released this first and then released the K2 Plus. It is also interesting to note that one of, maybe the downsides of this is that there is no multi-material system included with this. So you have the K2 Plus. K2 Plus is kind of expensive. What are we talking about with the K2 Plus? If we can get on there, K2 Plus, was it like $1,200, $1,300, $1,400? I think it was $1,500 for the K2 Plus with their multi-material system, which is a big chunk of change. Some people have gotten good results with their system. Yeah, whatever. Other people have had problems, so it's kind of a mixed bag, and we see a lot of Reddit threads where people are talking about problems, but those are being worked through. So it's kind of seems like a normal Creality release, where it's a little bit better than what they've had in the past, where basically users became the beta testers. Users are still kind of the beta testers to some degree, but not as bad as what we've seen before, which is a good thing. But when we when we come back to the 5 Max, why wouldn't you have the optional enclosure included on this? But they don't have that. 14-day return. Estimated delivery is in February this month, 16th through 19th. 12-month hassle-free warranty, lifetime customer support. And down below, frequently bought together, you could get their filament dryers and filament, brass nozzle. I wish they, I think it comes with a hardened steel nozzle. I'm not 100% sure, but we're looking at 700 millimeters ultra fast print speed, which if you use the rule of thumb, knock it down a couple of hundred, so you're going to look at maybe 400 or 500 ish for your daily driver speed, which is pretty good. Let's see, what else do we got? Printing, enormous build volume, which is awesome for cosplayers or anybody that wants to build a big thing and not be limited by, having, let's say you have a big model and then you have to go through the slicer and you have to cut up the model and blah, blah, blah. And then when you print it, and then you have to put the pieces together and, sand and mold and all that, all the post-processing is going to take a lot longer with a smaller build area than with something big. So that's kind of interesting there. It has the, really? Oh, there we go. Optional enclosure, higher ambient temperature for engineering filaments. And from what I've seen, it doesn't have an actively heated chamber. So really the heat is going to be the ambient temperature that comes from the build plate, which you can do a lot of good things with. It's just kind of, I don't know. And you're going to have to, that's going to be kind of a tall thing there if we take a look at that. So, but I mean, why wouldn't you have this released at the same time that the printer is being released? I think you could make a lot more money by offering everything all at once rather than saying, well, here's the printer, and oh, by the way, you need to wait a little while before we get into all of the bells and whistles, which is kind of like, okay, that doesn't. It just seems like, to me, it seems like they're rushing the machine to market, and well, we don't have the enclosure yet, but let's just push and push and push and get the printer out. I would rather, me personally, I would rather have something all at once to where I could go to the website and say, hey, I'm going to order the printer, I'm going to order the enclosure, I'm going to order all the different things that can come with it. And you would be assured that it's buy once, cry once. But now, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's a difference in marketing and business strategy. And again, I don't know if obviously they're on a strict timetable to do that, to do what they're doing. But, it is what it is. Let's see what else. First layer, 36-point auto leveling, perfect first layer. That's kind of interesting because that seems to be the next big thing in 3D printers. Perfect first layer, perfect first layer. We saw it with the K2 Plus, and there's a lot of people that aren't getting perfect first layers. So when somebody says that it gives you the perfect first layer, I have a problem with that because of the majority of variables that are involved in getting something printed. You have your filament, you have the moisture content of the filament, or the dryness, or does it require heat? What about the ambient temperature of where you are printing? The humidity levels of where you're at. All of these things come into play, and to promise perfect first layer, call me skeptical. I'm just saying. But I think that's, it's an advertising thing because it's an advertising thing. It's kind of like 3D resin printers where they talk about, the resolution. 8K, 10K, 12K, and now we're up to 16K. And really the human eye can't tell the difference between a 12 and a 16K. You can't tell the difference. But it's a great selling height thing. So, yeah, that's where we end up going. Superior print quality, talks about more strength with dual Z-axis motors, which are there and there, which are a lot bigger, which are pretty nice. And it talks about together they can effortlessly carry a 10 kilogram up and down. 10 kilogram model. Wow. No more layer shifts or obtruding layer lines. Again, perfect first layer, no layer shifts or obtruding layer lines. Really, we're talking perfection. Again, I'm a little skeptical. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Beefy frame and all that stuff, which is interesting. You got to have a good frame and all that. Operating temperatures provide stable performance at ranging from 5 to 40 Celsius. Exceptional performance won't be interrupted in fluctuating harsh temperatures, and the tool head stays clog free. It's kind of interesting. Clog free? I don't know. Here we have, hey, greetings, Steve. Finally caught you live. Great subject, and I'm learning a great deal about 3D printing. Well, that's cool. Thanks for watching. I appreciate that. And he's also one of the most people that I respect, and you'll see that at the end. He's contributed to the channel with coffee. And if you're interested in doing that, you can do that with a link down in the description box. So, much respect. You the man. Get back to what we're talking here for this is, when you say that it won't be interrupted in fluctuating harsh temperatures, I haven't seen any, and especially with an open frame printer, how can you make that statement? Because you're not taking, it says all data from Creality Lab. So if you have a controlled lab area where you have optimal temperature, optimal humidity, or a certain humidity level, what about my humidity level? What about my temperatures, and so on and so forth? You can't really, again, it's a marketing thing. I appreciate it, but it's a marketing thing at the same time. Lightning fast for time efficiency. Both X and Y Z axis use a 42 to 76 stepper motor. Unprecedented power for movement, as fast as 700 millimeters per second. Give you your prints in no time. 500 typical speed for quality. Remember how we talked about that rule of thumb? Drop down about 200, 250, and you should be in a good daily driver speed, which is good. 20,000 millimeters per second squared for acceleration, which is really nice because we've seen other machines that were 400 cubed and they claimed, a 10,000. So if all things are being equal, the speed is good, but there's a limit to the speed that you can do. And even the 20,000, the 20K acceleration, you're going to have to step that down to get good quality prints. But the good thing is usually with the higher speeds and acceleration, that can drop down. That means you are going to get faster prints than machines that are slower with less acceleration. Yeah, just kind of stating the obvious. Let's see what we got here. Extruder has dual tempered gears, which have endured 500 hours of durability tests for continuous extruding. That's kind of good. There's that whole thing with Creality before where they claimed that it was all metal extruder, and their own influencers that they sent machines to review the machines cracked open the extruders and found out that they were not all metal, and they had made a claim that they would get 10,000 clog-free hours. Then it was like, oops, and then they removed that it was all metal. They changed that, but they left up the 10,000 clog-free hour claim, and it's like, well, where did you get that number from? It seems like you tested it, data from the Creality lab, and then you found out that it's not all metal, and then it's like, but you left up the 10,000 clog-free hours, and then they eventually removed the 10,000 part for just, unprecedented clog-free hours or whatever, or enhanced or something like that. So, yeah, it's kind of like, that's why I have trust problems. It just is what it is. You can trust it for 24/7 production without downtime for inspection or maintenance. Again, I would find that claim of production without any downtime for inspection or maintenance, that's exaggerating. That is really exaggerating because you're not taking into account the variables of filament. And anybody that's done 3D printing, you can look at Reddit, you can social media, the threads and forums and the whole 9 yards. You will find people with pictures of every type of printer from every type of company that have had downtime because of maintenance that needed to be done, because there was clogs and so on and so forth. So again, trust issues. I wonder why. More capacity with a 400 cube, which is really nice. Now, there is a danger. I really shouldn't say danger because that's kind of exaggerating. But a concern is that the taller that your prints go, like if you're printing something like we see in this picture here, right there, if you have something that's 400 millimeters high, and if it's really narrow, and so it's kind of like a column or a tower or something like that, the higher it goes, the more possibility of movement at that top, which will result in layer shifts, layer lines, and so on and so forth. So depending on the items that you print, you might have to take that into consideration. So yeah, that's something to say that the bigger isn't always better because there's other variables that come into play. And of course, the taller you go, the more possibility of shifting of that item. Wow, 1,000-watt heat bed heats up rapidly in just 200 seconds, suitable for PLA, PETG, PA, ABS, ASA, and more, which is really good. Ender 5 Max and others, so 200 seconds versus 697 seconds. And this is from their lab, tested in an environment of 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Enclosure may be required for filaments of higher melting points. Heating time may vary due to various factors. Please refer to the actual condition. So yeah, it's good. I don't have any problem with that. All new epoxy build plate entails a lower temperature for bed adhesion, boosting overall power and efficiency. The new build plate is also bendable, so you can easily retrieve the finished prints. So, epoxy resin build plate versus, so 45 degrees Celsius versus 60 for PEI spring steel build plate. So is the entire build plate resin? Or is it a resin covered steel build plate? And if it bends, how long is that build plate going to last? And so that would be a concern to me. That's a question that I have. And if I was going to order this, which is a consideration, because I'm not thinking of printing stuff with needing or requiring higher temperatures, but you never know. Down the road, I always want to buy once, cry once, have all the bells and whistles just in case. It depends. Input volts, adaptive to input voltages worldwide, 100 to 240, which is good for me because I'm retired in Korea. Other features: input shaping, 8 gigs of ROM for print files, silent mode, so around 55 decibels. And again, this is an open gantry type or an open frame system, so there is no enclosure with it. So that leads me to believe that you'd be looking at a really less loud printer if you had the enclosure, if they offered that, which I think they should offer that now, but they don't. Three color indicator. And this is what I was talking about. Distance up to 10 meters away. I don't know, it depends on your eyesight. So you have running, standing by, and error. So those 3 indicators there are pretty nice. And if it was me, if I was going to do the indicator, I would do the indicator with the green light that we see there, but also with a Creality symbol. Maybe, hell, even the whole thing. Nah. You could probably just get rid of the indicator and just have the logo and the Creality and just have that light up as green, amber, or red. That would have been kind of cool in itself. But let's see what else we got. So yeah, there's the printer. Excuse me. And it ends up, what else do we got here? 400 cubed, printer dimensions 649 by 721 by 850, and it weighs gross weight 31 kilos, so that's a heavy printer. Acceleration layer 0.05 to 0.3 millimeters. Direct drive. Does it say what the nozzle temperature? Epoxy flexible build plate. USB drive and Wi-Fi for file transfer, 4.3 color touchscreen. Camera is optional. Where's the camera? If you're gonna offer a machine and it can have an enclosure, it can have a camera, offer it when you put it on for sale. I don't want to have to come back to the machine or to the website to get all these other things that should be included when I buy it the first time I come to the website. That's just me. It's just I just don't know. So let's see, where were we? Power loss recovery, which is really good. Power loss recovery, filament runout sensor, which is good. Input shaping, lighting kit, sleep mode. So that's good. Voltage, rated power. All that looks good. Printable file G-code, usual. Creality prints 5.1 or later. I have found out that it does work with Orca Slicer, is a concern for some people. Formats, STL, OBJ, 3MF, which is good, and a bunch of different languages, and an app for Creality cloud printing. But you're not forced into their cloud if you don't want to, like Bamboo. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, we're looking at $670 here, which is, I mean, that is a good price for that, especially for something 400 cube printer. The only problem is I wish they had the enclosure and the camera included, but it's not. So when you go down here and you could get a filament dryer, you can buy filament, you can do another brass nozzle. I wish it came with a hardened steel nozzle, which it doesn't say if it has that or not. But let's get rid of the filament. Let's get rid of the dryer. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, $469, $470. I would probably get an extra one just in case, but I'd want a steel one. But why wouldn't you have the enclosure included? Why wouldn't you? Come on, Creality. It just makes me wonder, why wouldn't you do this? And like I said today, the interesting thing is, where are the videos? When I pull up YouTube and I look for, Creality 5 Ender 5 Max, and I go because it's on sale today. And this week when we pull up videos, there's me talking. Where are the video talking about it again? But we don't get. There's no influencers talking about it. It's just Creality. Of course, that's an ad. Where are the influencers?
Hello, welcome to
with this. I don't understand. It just kind of boggles the mind of why, when the Creality came out with the K2 Plus, you had a bunch of influencers and people that were reviewing their products, but this Ender 5 Max comes out and we don't have that. So it's kind of like I'm not really getting why Creality didn't send these printers out to a bunch of different people. Let's get rid of that little energetic sound thing going on there. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of wondering. It's like, why didn't they send this out? Why, with the K2 Plus, we had videos. They're really pumping it hard. Perfect first layer, this, that, and the whole 9 yards is the best printer I've ever seen, which I do have problems with that because when you look on the Reddit threads, there's a lot of people having a lot of problems with their K2 Plus. So, is it the luck of the draw? Yeah, there's some people that aren't influencers that have stated that their K2 Plus is working great and awesome out of the box, but there's a lot of other people that aren't, and that's concerning, especially for a machine that's released, but then we're talking about Creality. So again, trust issues. I have trust issues. So, but yeah, my question is, where are the reviews for this thing, boom, dropping on sale today, and we don't have any videos. We don't have any influencers popping up and saying, ooh, live unboxing and first print and all of that stuff that we've seen with other companies and other printers that have been released. I'm just not really wondering. And it's these things that makes me wonder, how good is this going to be, or is this another rushed product to market with Creality? And again, as great as the specs are, I would probably order that. But because of what Creality has done in the past and what I've seen with the K2 Plus, and how there's some conflicting things, perfect first layer, and then there's a ton of people that are saying, yeah, I'm not getting perfect first layers, clog, run it 24/7, no maintenance and blah, 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 clog free, whatever for their K2 Plus. And then there's a bunch of people who are like, oh yeah, I'm getting clogs, and have to tear apart the whole extruder and hot end and the whole 9 yards. Very, very problematic. Again, it's those trust issues. That's what's keeping me from buying things when they're first released. I don't know. It just kind of very problematic. So anyway, that's what we got going on. But $770 for a 400 cubed machine, that is, aside from all my doubts, that is a great price. For what it is, even without the enclosure and without the camera, I think you could sneak the camera in there. Add $5 more to the total, and put a camera in there, or whatever the camera costs. I think that would be a good deal. That is a good deal compared to like when we looked at the X400 that is for sale by One, which does filament and resin sales, and they're trying to put out their printer, large scale 400 by 400, 400 cube printer, but they want, after their Kickstarter, is going to be like $2,500, which is insanely stupid because hell, this Creality Ender 5 Max offers more than what that one does, and it's like, okay, yeah. But where are the videos? I am really perplexed. I mean, because I was just kind of scrolling through and I was looking at all of this stuff, and I was like, yeah, let's check out let's check out all of these things and see what's going on as far as, this thing. I want to see the unboxing. I want to see the first prints. I want to see, the live streams of this stuff. And I hear crickets. There's nothing. So the only thing that we got for, let's see if I can find it, Ender 5, nope. If I learn how to type, Max unboxing, not unboxing. And what we end up seeing, let's kind of just dip back into here and we'll show you. This is from 1 month ago. So that's the box that it comes in, which is a nice small box, which is good. Again, you're going to have to do a little bit of, putting it together, which is not the end of the world. But it looks like all of the packaging is really good. They've got the foam. That looks really, really good. And it shows you all the stuff that comes with that, which is really nice. I like the fact, let's back up here. I like the fact that each of these bags is individually labeled with what it has in it, which is awesome, because I'm assuming in the instructions that with your instruction guide, and it shows you how to put this thing together, it'll say use these screws, and instead of having with just one big giant bag of screws that you got to sort through, they've actually taken the time to individually package the M5, the M4, and the screws and nuts and bolts and all of that stuff. So I mean, I am really impressed with that. You're going to have to put this thing together. Let's see if we can speed this up just a little bit. Let's see, 1.5 speed, maybe even 2. Can you do 2? Yeah, we can do 2. So really, assembly doesn't look like it's that big of a job. If I was going to be putting this together, I would make sure that I would have a square to make sure that you get those 90-degree angles on your supports before you cinch everything down to maintain the plumbness of the machine. And overall assembly doesn't look bad at all. I think as long as you just kind of, if it's properly identified as what is the front and what is the back, and left, right, and up and down and all of those things. But really, I mean, this isn't this is a piece of cake compared to some IKEA stuff that you would have to put together. Simple connectors, remove the power, so we're talking about the hotbed. So we got some Bendix connectors. Okay, so that's nice. Properly shielded, the whole 9 yards. So that looks good. And then you just got to screw everything in there for your bed. Again, I just want to make sure that everything is square. Of course, the bed is going to be, it's going to be leveled out anyway. And then you run your cable through the side, put it up there. Oh, that's for the display. That's not bad at all. That's nice. I like that. Simple. Put it into the rail. Oh, and they even got a rail snap, little snap cover in there. That's nice. spool holder. You know, maybe the spool holder, I wish they might have had, besides having it on the side, if you could also have it on the top, at least as an option. And there's your sensors and your wiring for your motors. And again, oh, okay, nice. Look at that. That is pretty good. Again, you know, connectors, they only go in one way. It's not rocket scientists. I really like that. You know, so putting this in, there's the LED lights that we're talking about. There's your power cord, which dual voltage, power switch, and then it's talking about the quick setup. Enter in your network. Do that. Boom. Self-check completed. And then obviously you do your leveling. And I wonder if it has tests for input shaping. So you feed up your filament, it goes in there. Oh, they still got the little switch thing. Okay, it is what it is. USB drive, so you could put models on there. That's good. And then they print out the benchy, which is always the thing to print out. Boom. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't look bad. And of course now they have the Creality Hi Combo, which is out, which that is interesting. So I'm dropping stuff all over the place. Creality Hi Combo. If we take a look at this, there's talking about that. And this is being released. But where are the videos for this? Oh, there it is. Here's one. Well, that's at the 4X, I think it was. But we don't see. Oh, okay. There's one. That's from a month ago. Oh, okay. So these, again, and is Creality, where is their high combo? Printer bundles. I don't know. They might not. Creality Hi Combo. So I had to do the same thing with the Ender 5 Max. I couldn't find it on the regular thing, but here it is, $500. A little bit of a, which isn't bad. Multi-material system, 95% pre-assembled, 500 millimeters, 12,000 acceleration. Not bad. Just by itself, it's $350. You know, if you just want that. So, but what is the build plate? What is the size of the build plate? Was it 256? Yeah, private. See, it comes with a camera. Seriously, you couldn't put a camera on the Ender 5 Max? Renault sensor, all of that stuff. Creality prints, blah, blah, blah. 260 by 260 by 300. So a little bit better, bigger. Interesting. But where are the videos? I just don't get the videos. There are no videos about this. So yeah, some pretty interesting things that we got going on here. And yeah, let's see. Kyle shows up and he says, "Good morning from Canada. I got the K2 Plus and I've been putting it through its paces so far. I'm thoroughly impressed." That is good. That is good news because the Creality K2 Plus is one of the ones that I'm looking at because it has all the bells and whistles. And so I'm still kind of doubting Creality. You know, I'm not going to run out and buy it very first thing. I'm awesome that you are getting a great deal and it's working well. And I'm kind of leaning toward the K2 Plus because a lot of people are getting good results with that. But then when you look at the Reddit threads, I have trust issues. But yeah, it's good to know. Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate that. And definitely keep us, informed and updated on what's going on with that. I've got people that send me emails because I got my email address up there and talking about the K2 Plus and how they've had some good experiences with it. I had a couple saying, yeah, they had problems. They're trying to contact Creality with some issues. One was a bed issue that it looks like they're going to have to do a motherboard and whatever. I can't remember what the other one was. The other guy had a problem, had something to do with the multi-material system, and yeah, it looks like it's they're gonna have to send him another one, and that's kind of a concern for me because I'm retired here in Korea. So just getting something like this, I'm going to have to pay some extra for VAT tax and import fees, which is kind of interesting. So we're looking at about, what is VAT is probably about 8% or 10%. And then there's another fee or import, 8%. So about 18% is what I would be paying. And Kyle's from Canada. So I wonder how much you'd pay for that. Kyle ends up saying, he says, okay, let's see what we got. I got the same trust issues with Creality, but I pulled the trigger anyway. You're a braver man than me. I'm going to post some of the time-lapse videos and some details on it I found. The print quality is good as the X1C. Cool. That is definitely a good thing. And what I like about it is that you're not locked into this whole authorization debacle that Bamboo is involved in, which I have a lot of things to say about that. It just, I have some trust issues with that. So, and for those of you who don't know, Bamboo has had their required authorization firmware upgrade and saying that it's, because you, the users, are so important and it's for your security and your safety that we're making you do this firmware upgrade where you have to do the upgrade to protect you, and it's all about your security. I'm very doubtful of that because if hordes of hackers were, hacking into Bamboo printers, we don't see anything on Reddit, we don't see anything on social media, TikTok or, YouTube or Facebook or any other, Kako Talk or whatever else. Whatever you use, we don't see anybody complaining about somebody hacked into their printer and printed up a bunch of benchies in the middle of the night, or some wild, crazy hacker was making the bed go up and down or heating up the build plate. We see absolutely zero, any of that happening. So when Bamboo said, we're concerned about your security, but then later they said they're getting 30 million hits a day on their side of their servers, it's like, well, it sounds like your security is lacking. And Kyle ends up saying, yeah, that's why I got the K2. If the issue was security, they would be forcing cloud connections. Absolutely. One of the things that was kind of interesting in regards to that is thinking back when I worked for the state of Colorado as an electronics technician. And some of the systems that we used could not have any access to the outside because of, the exposure to hackers or somebody compromising video, audio, and so on and so forth. And as an electronics technician for the state of Colorado, working in the prison system, you have camera recordings, you have audio recordings. We would secretly record people in their cells and so on and so forth. That was really some cool stuff. But we had to maintain a chain of custody with those video feeds and with those audios and everything that was recorded. So they couldn't go to court and say, well, hey, this has access. Somebody could have gotten into this system and played with these video or audio files, and that would be a huge problem. Thus, we have to throw out the case. But yeah, the whole thing with the Bamboo thing is kind of like, well, we're concerned about your safety and security. Let's see. Carl says, the funny thing is we actually have seen a mass hack where people's Bamboos were activated in the middle of the night. It was Bamboo Labs themselves. My machine has been on LAN mode since that day. Really? Wow. Interesting things you hear. activated in the middle of the night. So, and it was Bamboo Labs themselves. So are they really concerned about your safety and security? But they want you to get onto their cloud network where they're getting hit 30 million times a day, according to Bamboo. That's kind of like saying, hey, we're concerned about, think about it. Let's just back up and think about, like, it's raining. It's raining outside, and it's like I'm inside my house and I'm looking out and I'm going, it's raining. I don't want to get wet. I'm going to stay in the house. And then a company comes around and they said, well, hey, look, we made this cocktail umbrella for you, and we're requiring you to go outside in the rain with this little cocktail umbrella. And it's like, wait a second, that's not going to protect me from the rain. Oh yeah, it does. It protects you from the rain. It's like sending somebody out into the rainstorm with a little cocktail umbrella. You're just actually exposing yourself to that exposure, which can be hacked. And what's interesting is that it ends up that when Bamboo did all this, and it was, less than 24 hours, the Bamboo authorization key got hacked. Yeah. Now you've actually put us into higher risk. So yeah, I had a whole thing. Kyle ends up saying they had a glitch in their cloud a while back, which led to people's machines destroying themselves because it started prints with prints on the bed, etc. It was a whole big thing. No, thank you. Really? Wow, that is insane. And they were telling us it's all about the horde of angry hackers. Oops. Now Kyle and I have the same trust issues, and what's bad is that there was recently, I was going to make a video and watch this guy's video and kind of do a reaction video. This guy was supposedly, I'm going to take him at his word, he's been in IT for 30 years. And he was giving his take on this Bamboo authorization thing. And, it's no big deal. It's for the safety and security. And I'm like, I'm not an IT guy. I mean, I've built computer labs. I've run Cat5 cables. I've run fiber optic. I've had systems. I've put in software. I've done routers and all of this stuff. I've installed and maintained and replaced and repaired PTZ camera systems that could read the fine print on a pen, from hundreds of feet away. And again, all of this stuff had to be, within a certain chain of custody and not exposed to any risks or access from outside entities, the hordes of hackers. And even I know that, and this IT guy of 30 years didn't see a problem with requiring authorization. And it's like within 24 hours, the keys got hacked by hackers. How secure is that? I mean, I just, again, trust issues. But he was singing the praises of Bamboo and, this is, as an IT guy, there's no problem with this, it's just general, normal stuff. And it's like, yeah, but Bamboo has done a lot of questionable things in the past. And yeah, remember the whole data log thing? Who was the guy? I can't remember the name of the guy. No, it wasn't that. There was the 3D guy, and he's not a Bamboo hater. Oh, I got to find his name, because him and somebody else, they found out and they actually got into the logs of Bamboo, and it ends up that the things that Bamboo said, these things aren't being transmitted, and they actually, in the logs, and then they actually were. Seriously, I'm looking through my feed, and this guy doesn't come up. But every other time, he's always in my feed. Oh, here he is. 3D Musketeers. 3D Musketeers. Let me see if it's data log, if that pops up. Yeah. Yeah, this ends up this is all kinds of crazy because this guy here, 3D Musketeers, they actually went through and then they talked about what was actually in the data files and the log files and so on and so forth, and it ends up that Bamboo lied a lot. So yeah, it was like, yeah, that's not what we want to do. Yeah, that whole thing was crazy. Yeah, Grant from Three Musketeers. He's the one that made the big thing about the logs before they even opened the logs, and he was 100% right. Yeah, he was the guy, and just the fact that it was like, yeah, I mean, like I said, when I worked for the state as an electronics tech, we would contract out work for software that integrate with our hardware and stuff like that into usable systems. Combining the hardware and software, and we had certain requirements, and so yeah, when so when that whole thing blew up, I was like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Because, and then later, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, they actually found out that, no, it was DJI. DJI kind of did the same thing. They came up with this product, drones. I have a DJI drone. Great community, getting everybody into it, ease of use, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we don't transmit any stuff. Just go do your drone stuff. We're more concerned about usability and all that. And it ends up that they were actually transmitting video, photos, GPS coordinates, the whole nine yards, the stuff that they said that they weren't going to be transmitting, and it ended up that information went to the Chinese government. Yeah. And because it's China and Chinese businesses, at the behest of their government, have to give over that information to the Chinese government. It's not like the United States. It's, they're not concerned about the rights of citizens. If the Chinese government says, hey, we want this information that is being gleaned through your products, that company's going to hand it over. Otherwise, they're not going to be there. Yeah, Kyle says that's correct. Grant went over all of this in his recent live stream as well and made a lot of good points. I also refused to buy a DJI drone when I was in the market. I had bought my drone way before any of this came up, so that was kind of interesting. And in reality, the places I've been flying, it's not a big deal. But since I've got to Korea, I haven't used my drone, and so because drone laws are very different here in Korea, and it's a lot different than the United States, and I can still fly my drone. I'm going to try to take it out this year, but there's certain laws that you can't be within so many 100 feet of people or whatever. So it's really, really different. I have to deep dive into that. But yeah, if I was coming into the drone market, I wouldn't go for DJI just for the fact that they lied and that information was turned over to the Chinese government. But then again, is Creality a U.S. company? No, it's a Chinese company. Is Creality going to pull a Bamboo and we're all going to get bamboozled here sometime down the road? I don't know. I don't think so, but it's a possibility. But the thing with Creality is that they're not Bamboo, and what Bamboo is involved in right now is gaslighting people, trying to make it seem all it's about user security, when it's not. Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. Kyle ends up, and in case anybody's wondering, we're just kind of rambling now because we're not talking about the under 5. Canada, insane drone laws. I sold mine as a result. It's basically illegal to fly a drone anywhere that I live under any circumstances. That's messed up. Because I love flying my drone. I really enjoyed that, and I want to get back into it. So we'll see how that goes. But with resin printing, 3D printing that I'm going to be getting into, and also laser engraving, I'll have more than enough hobbies. But I really like flying a drone. And there are some great places here in Korea that I think I get some awesome pictures and drone shots. That would just be I love that hobby, but I just haven't dove deep enough into find out what I need to do to register and do all that stuff. So it's a thing. Let's see. Oh no. Creality is also doing some of the things similar to Bamboo. They locked down their RFID reader in the K2 after someone open sourced it. That said, Creality can be 100% rebuilt since it's open source. Interesting. That's good. I did have a guy who was. This is going to be something I'm going to be reviewing that deals with resin printing. So hopefully to make a video next week. Somebody asked me about that, sent me a PM and said, hey, well, what about this RFID and all of that stuff? RFID tags, I don't have a problem with. If a company says, hey, we have our own materials and the RFID tag can relay the information that it's this type of filament, it's this color, it's located in this slot in your multi-material system and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with that. You can enter the information in on the keypad of most printers, but still, I'm kind of old school. Oh, the RFID, pull it off that reel and put it onto the reel of some third party, same color filament. I think that would work out okay. But I can understand why they well, no, I don't. I'm sorry. Who cares if they make their own RFID for filament? It's a convenience thing. It's for Creality's filament. That thing, the RFID thing is there, and you put it into their multi-material system or CFS or whatever it is, and so you don't have to print out a bunch of stuff. I personally, I don't really think that's a big deal. Let's see. Kyle ends up talking and says, I agree with you on the RFID thing. The issue was it was open and could use your own RFID tags, and they closed it for your security. I really hate the phrase now. That makes two of us. You and me both, and probably a number of other people. It's for your security. The phrase that I hate after that is, it's for the children. It's like, oh, good Lord. Those two phrases. So, yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. But I'm still really tempted on the K2 Plus. Matter of fact, I put it into the cart on the Creality website. But then I found out that I would have to... Getting stuff here in Korea is a little bit different than the United States. And I don't know if, Kyle, it's the same with Canada. Because in the United States, I could order it, boom, no problem. Whatever Chinese company or whatever company, Bamboo, Prusa, whatever, I could order and I could get it. Here in Korea, and maybe it's similar with Kyle, I'm not sure, let me know if this is the case, is that anything that comes in, it's got to go to customs, got to have a VAT tax, it's going to have an import tax, so we're looking at 10 to 18% that they got to pay on top of that. And then if you go through a middleman, they're going to charge their little chunk of profit out of there. So that's going to raise the price even more. So, and to get products, you have to have a personal custom code. So there's some products that I've ordered from overseas that, I get my name, my address, the whole 9 yards. That's not a problem. But for them to ship it, I need to have a personal customs code. Now, it didn't cost me anything, but it's just kind of a registration thing. And Korea did that to combat illegal import of, items from other companies, so that they would kind of get around not having to pay the VAT tax. So that's why your identity is tied to your phone number, your phone, and your PCC is tied to you, which is tied to your phone, and your address, which is also tied to your visa identity, Korean registration card ID, and so everything has to match. All the name has to be in a certain order with no spaces or, no commas or anything like that. It's very frustrating at times. Then I have to pay some additional tax. Most people don't have do that. They will go on like Coupon, which is kind of like an Amazon, and Naver, which is another big internet company that you can buy products. It's basically everything. But what ends up happening is that if you order from those Coupon or from Navers or kind of the Amazon-like companies, they will charge a huge amount of money because they're buying it with their PCC, with their customs code, and then they're going to charge even more. So there are some items that I will have to pay double the amount of what the item actually costs. And so, but I can go to Amazon and I can get it cheaper. So yeah, it's weird. It's just totally weird. Kyle ends up talking about it, says, I believe here it's not as difficult as what you're describing. It's expensive, but less. K2 Plus is $21.50 with 13% HST. Sometimes you get hit with import fees. Sometimes you don't. It's weird. Wow. Still, that's a lot of money. Taxes. Nobody wants to pay them. But it is what it is. We got to deal with what we have. So, but yeah, that's why I'm really, if I was in the States, I would probably order a printer. And if I didn't like it, I could send it back. But again, the whole logistics thing here is just kind of crazy. So, and then it's like, well, if I send it back, then I have to deal with, do I get refunded of my import tax that I paid? And trying to find out that information has just been crazy. So that's why I'm trying to do a lot of research before I pull the trigger. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards a Creality K2 Plus, and we'll see how that goes. So $1,500, I think that's a decent price, and if Kyle says it's working good, that's good news. So that's a little bit more credibility on the plate for me. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Yeah. So the Ender 5 Max is on sale, $770 by itself, and haven't seen any influencers, no live unboxing or first prints or anything with the Ender 5 Max, which is why I don't understand that. You think Creality, especially with their K2, they sent a ton of those machines to influencers, and boom, that was one of the things that got me interested into the K2 Plus. But here with the Ender 5, yeah, we're not getting anything. Ender 5 Max, we're not getting anything. So it's just kind of like, why? So I'm just going to sit back here and kind of wait until the smoke clears. But, for $770 versus the $1,500 for the K2 Plus with the multi-material, really, would I do multi-material or multicolor filament? I don't think so. But if I had to choose between the two, I would probably go with the K2 Plus, even though it's double the price. Yeah, because you haven't even added, what is the enclosure going to be? Another $200 or $300? So you're still looking at $1,000. So maybe $1,000 versus $1,500, a $500 difference. Might as well just get the K2 Plus. So, Kyle ends up saying something weird with Creality and the influencers. I was looking to buy the Scan Raptor, and I still can barely find any reviews on that unit. The value for the Ender 5 looks solid. I think it does too. Especially if you're just going to do like the basic filaments, there's no need to get a K2 Plus, with all of the stuff to heated chamber and blah, blah, blah. If you don't need it, why should you pay for it? That makes total sense. So it seems like a good deal. And so I'm kind of waffling back and forth, but I'm kind of concerned that we're not seeing any videos on it. Just like you said, the Raptor scanner. It's just kind of odd. Yeah, I'm wondering why that's not on the web. One more thing to note on the K2. Do not buy it for multicolor. Consider it a production machine that can do multicolor. The amount of waste material it produces is insane. Gotta agree with you. Kyle's speaking the truth. And for those of you who don't know, when you're talking about a multi-material system and you're changing colors from red to green, or yellow to black or whatever, some contrasting colors. They're all going to contrast to some degree. But you're going to have to purge the filament of that color, and it's going to retract and purge, and then it's going to have to get rid of that. So it's going to poop out that filament, and so you have the filament poop, and then you have a purge tower where it's going to make sure it's going to run a bunch of times to make sure that all of that colored filament that you were using and not using now is going to be expelled, and the color that you are going to be using now is going to be the color you want. Yeah, imagine that. But with that, you're going to have a lot of filament waste. Now, this is where companies like Prusa come in with their XL with a multi-head system, like their one has a 5-head system. Each of those heads can have a different color. You can seriously minimize the amount of poop or waste, and that's always a good thing because you're not wasting money on just throwing poop away, filament away in the form of poop. Kyle ends up saying, I sliced a 4-gram model and the waste calculated in the slicer was over 180 grams. I printed a couple dragons and it was 600 grams of waste. Holy crow. Wow. And just to let you know, I ate 600 grams of beef today at a restaurant. Korean marinated beef. It was good. 600 grams of that. Good stuff. But yeah, I think you're totally right. And so there is something to be said for a multi-material system or a multicolor system. You can do it, but in reality, as a daily driver, would you? Probably not, unless you're got a ton of money and you don't care about the waste, which is, I'm not in that position, unfortunately. So, but then again, like Prusa XL, you're looking at $2,500 for just a single head printer. And if you do two heads, you do the 5-head, that's just an insane amount of money. And for a hobbyist like me, I don't know if I could justify that. But then again, I don't need that. Maybe somebody else does, and then it's like, hey, this is great, I'm going to buy it, which is totally reasonable. So anyway, yeah. Aside from that, it'll be very interesting to keep the eyes open on the Ender 5 Max and videos to see what happens. Going back to the CFS, that you can load up 4 spools of filament, basically the same as a 4 kilogram spool. Auto refill is amazing. Okay, that's something I could get behind. That makes total sense. I could see doing auto refill. I mean, hell, that sounds like a good idea. So if you're just doing PLA and you have a spool in there and it runs out, you have another one, then another one, and another one, you're assured that you're not going to run out and ruin your print. So that makes a lot of sense. I could do that. That would justify. That makes sense. So yeah, that's good. Multicolor, I don't think so. Now here's a question, Kyle. Have you done any multi-material print? So in other words, have you printed in one material and then done like a water-soluble filament as supports or anything like that? I can't remember the guy that I saw, but he did a video where he printed in one and then had like a layer of some other filament, which was like a water washable filament. And then he printed the other part on top of that. So he was able to maximize the amount of space and the number of widgets that he could print. That would make sense to me. But again, you're still going to have to purge from the one material filament to the other, the water soluble one. But at least it's not going to be like constant, like color changing, where it's a ton of waste. So, I don't know. Let's see, Kyle ends up saying, not yet. I'm going to do a test today using PLA and PETG as support material interface. It's all I have on hand. Cool. Yeah, definitely keep us up to date on that and how that works out. I mean, you're always going to get some type of waste, but it's not going to be like you're doing 200 color changes and getting 600 grams poo, for a very small print. It just, that just, can you do it? Yes. Would you do it? I don't know. If that's your bread and butter, you would be better off with a Prusa XL, But the good thing is we have options. So yeah, that's it's looking closer and closer. Like I'm gonna get the K2 Plus. And matter of fact, where was I actually looked up Creality K2 Plus on one of the websites, the Korean websites, and I could actually found a real good deal, and it was, where is it? 26, 25, was it 23 something? 23, here it is. I'll take a look and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this right here, so there it is, the Creality K2 Plus combo. And if you're kind of wondering about the exchange rate here in Korea, so we have 2,288,000 million won. Divide that by an exchange rate of, I think it's around 1430 right now. So we're looking at $1,600, which in reality, that is a good price because there's so many of these. That is not bad, and the shipping is free. The shipping is included in this price. So this is actually a really good deal. Wow. Of course, shipping method. Of course, it's going to be parcel, select, combo. You can do additional filament. Hey, additional products, filament. Do a scanner. I wouldn't do that. But yeah, that is, and that's, everything's in Korean and everything. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, this is looking like a real good deal there. So it's got some of the specs and everything. But 350. That's a great size. Do all the bells and whistles and all of that stuff. So yeah, that would be the deal. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Interesting stuff that has come about with the Creality and all the stuff that we have going on there. We've got noise. We've got music. What do we got? Yes, we do. Is that too loud? Because I have no idea. It's set on 5. So we'll see how that is. But anyway, that's going to conclude the video for today. And since we talked about a bunch of things, the Creality K2 or K2 Plus, but mainly the Ender 5 Max. The price of $770 seems to be a really good price. So, but I haven't seen any videos. Wondering why? Doesn't make sense to me. But what does make sense are the people that have given me thumbs up and have subscribed to my channel. So I appreciate that. And then the people over here, over there, they have bought me coffees. And there's some people who are watching this who have bought me coffee. And to you, I have much respect. And you can do the same if you haven't by clicking the link in the description box down below. So I think we're getting to a point of where my trigger finger is going to be pulling the trigger. Probably on the K2 Plus. Probably. I'm about 75% sure. And it's moving it now with Kyle and his experiences, I think, and some other people. It's getting up into the 80% range. So yeah, we could see something being ordered here pretty soon. So yeah, another hobby to learn and get into will be a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining me here in Korea. Steve, the retired hobby expat, and doing all kinds of stuff. Appreciate you watching. Any questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, tips, feel free to email me here. I have successfully answered every single person, every single email. So I relish in that. but I also answer questions in regards to retiring overseas here in Korea. There's certain circumstances where you can do that. So I help people out and do that for free. Everything's free. But yeah, I really enjoy it. So, and even if you just want to say hi and whatever, yeah, shoot me an email and I'll shout back out to you. So with that, it is, what time is it? It's 10:30 at night here in Korea on Tuesday the 11th. So we're going to call it a night. And hopefully you'll have the rest of the week to have and do great things. So we'll see how that goes. All right, we'll see you all. Take care and see you on the next video. Peace. Tired.